started as a fun adventure ended with a very grisly discovery. Some teens who were using a TikTok app that randomly generates a nearby location to explore got to the location. And as Amber Cogliano reports, they were shocked by what they found.
We now disrupt your regularly scheduled programming.
Greetings, fellow wanderers. I'm Fred. This is my brother Jay, and we are your hosts of Wander Beyond, exploring the unseen, understanding the unsaid. So we have a pretty fun episode lined up for you here. We thought we'd do something a little more lighthearted and fun, but very interesting. This adventure that Jason and I had started the whole deal. It created a conversation that we had, and we brainstormed, and Wander Beyond came out of this whole discussion, a late night discussion at a diner out in the middle of the desert. So this is what that episode is. The whole thing is based on a phone app called Randonautica. A lot of you have probably heard of that out there. A lot of you probably haven't, but it was one of the most downloaded apps in the last 3 or 4 years, mainly because of COVID. And so people had a lot of time on their hands, and they got cabin fever, and they were itching to do things outside of the home. So what Randonautica does is it randomly generates locations and invites you to explore those locations, their coordinates on Google Maps or whatever map site you're using. Before I go further, I just want to state that we are in no way affiliated with Randonautica, and we're not being paid to endorse it in any way. This was just sort of a life-changing day that we had. We had so much fun with this app, and we wanted to share it with you all. And just let you know that in the future, we're going to be doing a lot of episodes in the Randonautica app, doing live streamed adventures. We'll explain more as it goes on, but we are not affiliated in any way with Randonautica. So what it does is I will also invite all of you to download the app and do this along with us. You pick a radius. The maximum radius it can do is 6.21 miles from where your phone is located. And the whole thing is based on the premise that intent can alter reality, that intent creates reality. And that's the reason that the phone app was built in the first place by Joshua Langfelder. And the app was intended to prove the theory that intent can alter reality. So what it does is, I said, it picks a radius around where your phone is, and before you hit generate, you think in your mind of an intention, what you want to solve or see or do. It could be something as simple as something you like, right? My intent is to see puppies, or the color purple. You could use it as a divination tool, right? Show me something that will let me know if I should take this job or not, or whatever it is. It could be literally anything. And then you hit generate. And what it does is, inside that radius that you chose, it just randomly generates a billion, millions, literally millions of points on the map. It just randomly picks longitude, latitude, creates a dot, and it does that a million times. And in theory, because it's completely random, it should just generate a cloud of dots, right? It's just random. So there shouldn't be any sort of structure to that. However, that's not the case. It creates weird cloud patterns where there's anomalies, where there's spaces on that map that have super dense concentrations of dots, and spaces where there are no dots whatsoever, which doesn't really make sense if everything's random. The theory being that your intention is creating differences in the density of the locations. There's a lot of science behind it. There's a book that I read, The Official Guide to Randonautica, which I highly recommend. And it actually barely talks about the phone app at all. Mostly what it talks about is the history, all of the data that was put into it, all the things that happened when it was being researched, something called the Fatum Project, which is these dark web of scientists all over the world who are involved in randomly generating all these numbers. And they created a quantum number generator, which is what Randonautica uses. So getting to it, I was visiting Jason. He lives out west, out in the Sierra Nevadas. I live in Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, and I was there. We were looking for something to do, and we said, "Hey, why don't we try Randonautica while we're out here?" Like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So, based on a lot of the conversations Jason and I always have, we decided, hey, let's set Randonautica. Keep in mind, we're out in the middle of nowhere, a tiny little town out in the Sierra Nevada desert. And we said, wouldn't it be cool to use this app? So we'd set our intention as give us a peek behind the veil, right? We want to see something that we wouldn't normally see. We want a glimpse into, what do we say, Jason? Like the greater world around us.
Right.
Who
I think that's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we took a couple seconds and concentrated on that. We hit generate, and it's spinning, and we're watching, and we're kind of, we're not really taking it too seriously. It's just a lot of fun. And then bloop, it gives us a location. And the Maps app connected to it, and we're off. So I think it was about, I don't remember, it was maybe 20 minutes or so from your place. And when you look at the Maps app, it showed a location that was not on a road, but it still was giving us location and directions. So off we went. At this point, I had no intention of documenting anything. This was just going to be a fun trip. So, and Jay, just jump in here anytime if you have any thoughts on this. So we're going down a couple of state highways, and it was these back roads, and then a gravel road back onto the regular road. Eventually it takes us to, I don't want to call it an industrial park, right? But it was sort of this maybe mile square area that had like a quadrant of roads, and each block was a set of warehouses. So we're driving through this, following the phone app, turn left on this street, right on that street. And it's this little maze of all these warehouses. And there was one that was like a bunch of old cars that were just sitting out in the desert. Remember there was some like freeway, like bridge construction blocks that were there. Remember there was one that had a whole bunch of boat hulls that were all like rotten and moldy or whatever. Like
some kind of restoration places, yeah.
Right. And there were some places though that looked like they were actively being used. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, but for the most part, it was just a lot of just storage. So, anyways, so we get to the end of that. Looking on the app, it looked like that was our destination, but it wasn't. We get to the other side of that. Remember, there was a little hill, and then like a big, like a oil storage tank, like a giant tank. And that was the end of the road, but the app still had us going further. So we're like, okay, this is starting to get weird now. And it's at this point.
Sorry to cut you off, but I remember right at that point, I remember you and me kind of looked at each other, and then right then, like a wind kicked in. Like it started getting really windy.
It got really windy. That's right. So it starts getting windy, and we're starting to get this little nervous. We're looking back and forth at each other. And also at this point, well, anyways, so we go around the oil tank, and there's like a little, I want to call it a driveway, but just a little dirt road that went down and then back up. And this is where the adventure really started for me. There was the railroad tracks.
I remember
so the app had us crossing the railroad tracks, and it's this little dirt road. So as we come up to the tracks, there's like stop signs, like 4 stop signs, warning signs that says like private property, that the property was owned. This property is owned by the whatever railroad business it was.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: not only like were these signs here warning you not to go any further, but all the signs were riddled with bullet holes.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, gosh, it seems like a shame to just stop here, but we're like, well, we're here. It was like like a Sunday afternoon. There's nobody for miles. We didn't see a single car, and we're in the desert. And if you've been out there, I'll show some pictures in a little bit. There's just nothing there. It's just desert, but not like the Sahara, like sand desert. It's more of there's a term for it, but it's all like this scrub brush stuff and rocks. Anyway, so we're in the middle of nowhere and we're like, let's just do it. There's no people around. So we go over the tracks. It was after we got past the tracks that everything started to become surreal, right? Like all of a sudden there was like this crackling energy, a little bit of fear.
There were times where it felt like my stomach was coming up through my throat. Because I had my, at the time I had the Chevy Colorado. And at first we were like, should we try this? Because even with that thing, I was like, it was pretty rugged terrain.
Yes.
And we were just like, just screw it. Like, it's an adventure. Let's just do it. But it was at that moment where everything did change. You could tangibly feel it.
So and according to the phone app, we still had like 1.5 miles or 2 miles to go. And the road very quickly stopped being a road. There was a road there, but it was all like eroded away. There were like gouges in the center of it. There was areas where there were just big boulders because the road all had washed away and just left these boulders. Mm-hmm. And like Jay said, we're driving up here now in his 2-wheel drive old truck, and we're going up, and and you'll see in some videos in a little bit. It was very scary. It was very scary. And Jason's like white knuckled, right? Just focusing on the road. I'm trying to guide him around big stuff. And we're going up this mountain, and it starts going up a mountain, right? It's the Sierra Nevadas are not flat. It's all mountainous, but very dry. So we're going up this mountains, right? So it's all these, hairpin turns up this mountain, and we're just up and down and up and down. And a couple of times I remember saying to you, Jay, I was like, look, if you want to just before because it was obviously not going to get better. If you just want to turn around, like nobody's going to blame you. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. I'm getting like the nervous just thinking about it again.
Right.
Because I remember a couple of things thinking like, if we get stuck up here, and there were some really crazy like ditches. Yes. I'm like, first of all, who do we even tell? Like, who do we call? Yep. And then how do we explain this? Like, right. How do we explain where we are?
We didn't just accidentally show up there. We obviously like.
And if somebody said, okay, and there was nobody, but if somebody were to say, okay, I'll come help pull you out. How do I explain where we are? Like, right. I don't know what to tell them. I don't.
Right. Where should I come get you?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yep. We're just here. So yeah. And now the wind's starting to pick up. The energy's getting scarier. And
it started getting darker. The sun was starting getting darker, down.
Right? And we're on this mountain road, so always going up anyway. At the left side of the truck, it was always like a cliff going up, and on the passenger side, it was a cliff going down. And we're on the side of this mountain, going up and around it and up through this mountain. So it started to get not just, scary because of everything Jay just said, but we started thinking like, what if someone catches us up here? I'm thinking of like every horror movie that has like a corrupt sheriff, and the Good Old Boys, and it started to get very like, what if, it was just very scary. So to shorten this up a little bit, we're going up there, we're looking at each other the whole time. Jay's just white knuckle driving, trying to stay on the road, avoiding falling in any of the trenches and gorges and everything else that's there. Finally, we're 1 mile, we're 3/4 of a mile, half a mile. Finally, it's like 200 feet, and there's still nothing there. And we're like,
I remember that last mile seemed like it was 20 miles.
Yes. It's because we're going so slow and it was so windy, just up. It just seemed like
Yep.
you're going forever, but we weren't going very far, even though we were driving a lot. So we get there finally, ding, it says your destination is on your right. And we're still on this road and there's nowhere to turn around. It's just straight down or straight up in either direction. So I'm going to pull up a couple of pictures here. I just clicked a couple of pictures that I wanted to save and show the wife when I get home or whatever. So here's where we were. So this is where we stopped. Now I stepped out of the truck and I'm looking behind us. I just want to show that there was no buildings around. There's nothing there. It was pretty cool. So, and beautiful, but just desolate. There's just nothing there. There's a couple more. This was on the side of the truck looking up.
Yep.
And the pictures don't do it justice. Like the scenery was just massive on all sides. And if you look way up in the top of the picture, you can see what looks like maybe a radio tower, way up on top, which I would assume that that's where this road is going to. But so yeah, that's the location. And just to the right of camera, it dropped down into this little gorge, which was obviously like a dry riverbed. So we're like, hey, let's get out and explore it.
That's about as in that last picture, that's about as clear as that road ever was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like
Yep.
I didn't think we were going to make it a couple times.
So I went down into the gorge. Jason went up the hill a little bit and I went down. Now remember the reason we're here is to try to find some sort of secret, some sort of government secret, who's pulling the strings behind our veil. And so we're like, all right, let's get out and explore. We're here. For some reason, the app brought us here. So let's figure it out. So we hopped out of the truck. I went down that riverbed and I didn't find anything right away. A lot of old, rusted out cans that had obviously been pulled down by water at some point. Jay, you came down, you were kind of exploring just above me, but a little further off in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
We're not really finding anything. We're calling each other like, all right, well, let's look a little bit further. And if not, we'll head back. I mean, this was the spot.
A couple minutes where we thought, well, this was a dud.
Yeah, right. So unfortunately, I didn't get this on camera because I wasn't thinking this was going to be anything. And it never occurred to me to record it. But all of a sudden, so we're discussing this, like, how are we going to get back? Because we couldn't really turn the truck around at that point. Like, we're going to have to go further. What if someone catches us here? And we have this sort of, what's the movie with the banjo and the hills on the mountains?
I forget the name of it. I'll think of it.
But anyway, so we're like, what if we get caught up here? Like
Deliverance.
Deliverance. Thank you. We had this kind of deliverance feeling, like if we get caught by, whoever, like the cops come up, they're like, boy, guys, you're not supposed to be here. Okay, cool. Sorry. We got a little turned around. We'll head back. But I was like, what if we get caught up here by like some of the locals, like people who don't want us up here? Like,
right.
That became like this thing. So I remember though, I'm down in this gorge and you were a little further up. All of a sudden I'm like, Jay, like, listen, like I hear a vehicle. And I was like, shit, it's happening. Like all of a sudden my heart is pounding out of my chest. Like, I'm like, let's just get to the truck. Like, I don't like, it'd be bad enough to get caught at the truck, but I don't want to be caught up here digging around and whatever secrets we're not supposed to see.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, crap, like, get back. So I'm trying to run up this thing, dodging all the brush and everything going up. But it became clear all of a sudden that we weren't hearing a car on the road, which is what I thought it was in the beginning. We were hearing a helicopter.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that? So, and the thing is though, you can see like for miles and miles, and we never could see the helicopter, but it's getting louder and louder to the point where like, shit, like we're going to get caught or whatever. The helicopter got loud. And by this time, we're back by the truck now, and we're like, we got to turn around, we got to get out of here. And emotions were kind of high at this point, but I pointed this out not that long ago. Like, I don't actually remember the helicopter, the noise stopping or going away. We just stopped paying attention to it. We were in this like, let's get out of here mode.
Yeah.
And I don't remember, all of a sudden we were just there and the helicopter wasn't there anymore. So I don't know. It got loud enough that I think we should have seen it, but we didn't. But in the desert,
And how we didn't see it, I don't know either.
I don't know.
You said, you could see even in those pictures, you could see for miles.
Forever. You could see, and it was a clear day.
I have a theory about it because down in later episodes, helicopters will become a topic.
That's true.
But that is kind of where things started to kick off.
Right.
And then from there, it just got weirder and weirder. And I believe shortly after that, you started filming.
Yes.
So
we're here and actually the first clip I'm going to show you is right before the helicopter happens. So we're up here and we're talking about like this deliverance mode that we're in, and like, oh my God, the videos won't show it, but there was a fear and an excitement in the air. Like there was just, like you said, like your heart, your stomach coming out of your throat. It was just this constant like pressure of energy that was in the air the whole time. So I thought it'd be funny. Hey, I'm gonna pull out my phone. I'm gonna do like a Blair Witch style video for my wife. Like, hey, check this out. We're on this crazy adventure. So I'm gonna show that video right now. This is video 1 of 11, I think, that I took. And at this point, it's still kind of lighthearted, but we're all jazzed up, hopped up on excitement right now. So here's video 1. Rebecca, if you're watching this video, it means I didn't make it home. I love you. Jason and I are doing the Randonautica app, looking for government secrets, and it took us out to this weird wilderness out in the middle of the mountains. We're terrified. And there's just nothing there.
Right.
But
you can hear the wind whipping.
Yep. I'm going to flip the camera around if I can. No. All right. I'll take some pictures. All right, so that was video 1, and as you can see, there's just nothing there. The wind's starting to pick up. We're all excited, and it was right after this that we started hearing the helicopter. So was that right after the helicopter? I think we came up to the truck because we heard the helicopter.
Right. I think you took that video after we heard the helicopter.
That's when I decided, like, okay, this is getting cool. I'm gonna film this thing, and it's gonna be neat. Little did I know it was gonna become this great big thing. So that was video 1. So the next video I'm gonna show, I have a couple videos where I just was trying to take the scenery as we were driving, so you could see how crazy the road was. So here's the next one. Okay, Rebecca, my phone. My phone. Check out this crazy ass road all over the place. Randonautica led us to.
That was a drive.
Like it's like four-wheeling country, and we're in a two-wheel drive truck. Just a little update on our adventure. We found the location.
Going down.
We looked around. Didn't find anything consequential. We're gonna try some more stuff though. Check back in a couple minutes. I should point out too that video you just saw was us going back down the mountain. In order to do that, we couldn't turn around where you were parked, so we just kept going further, hoping that the road would widen up.
Oh yeah,
and it never really did. So we're just like, we got to get back. And plus it's starting, and it's hard to see in the camera because my phone was adjusting itself for the light, but it's starting to get dark at this point. So we're like, we got to get back down. So we just kept going up around a few more hairpins until we got to a spot where we're like, all right, at least if we get off the road, we probably won't die. But it was like this, like 15-point turn, right? So he's like, up, back, like stuck here, sideways on the road, just a little bit further. Eventually we were able to turn the truck around.
And that
But
was
it wasn't
scary
easy.
because if I go a couple feet too far, you're going
Yep.
right over that edge.
So I was standing outside the truck, and while you're backing up, I'm watching your wheels get closer and closer to the ledge. Like, oh, you stop, turn your wheel. Like, so it was scary. So we're going back down. Now, as we're going back down, I got to remove some of these from the studio. Oh, shoot. So as we're going down, there's this little, I don't know why it existed. Remember, Jay, where we're going down and the road had this little, I don't want to give away what we saw until I show the video of it. But there was this little area almost like a rest stop. I don't know why it existed out in the middle of the desert, but you could go off. Maybe they would park equipment there, trucks when they're going up to check the towers or something. This isn't like a road that people drive on. It's only like an access road for these radio towers. So I don't understand why that little area existed. But going now down this road, all of a sudden we find this little turnoff, and there was this quite amazing things that we saw. I'm hoping the next video will show it. It might just be showing us on more hairpins, but I'm going to play the next video, video 3. It sure did.
You're going over.
It actually gets worse when you go around the other one.
Okay, what was that?
I think something hit one of your your rims.
I thought I blew a tire for a second.
Ping. Nope, nope. See, this is terrifying. Right? Yep. We're gonna do a hard hairpin left here.
I think this is right before we got to that.
This is right before it, yeah. And I'm just filming here just again to just show
one of those like found footage horror movies.
No buildings, no people, no cars.
I'd be running through the hills
with my phone going. So again, that's just to show the desolation. As you can see in that shot, you can see forever, and there's just nothing there. We're just in the middle of nothing. Okay. So I think this next one then shows the first interesting find of the night. Okay, Rebecca, check this out. Oh my God. We're going to check this out before we get back to the road. This shouldn't take but a moment. There's another one flipped upside down up there. I'm going to pause here a second. I'm going to pull up a couple of pictures that we took. Slides. There. So what we found, there's this old passenger van, and it's just destroyed. The windows are all burnt out. Like you can see when we went up to it, you can see the flame marks going up the sides, and it's just riddled with bullet holes. It's just full of holes. Like, they unloaded 50 clips of like full automatic, and there were big holes in it too. So this is big caliber guns. And as we're walking, like it's hard to see in the picture, but it's like we're walking on gravel, but instead of little rocks, it's just bullet casings just everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's when it started to get pretty crazy. So I'll continue this. Wow. Let's see, there's shotgun shells. And I talked about it briefly in the video, but in that shot way off to the right and up one of the hills, there was another car that was flipped upside down. Its wheels were facing up, and it was all riddled with bullet holes, just like this one. And then to the left and way down at the bottom of a gorge, there was another like a darker colored vehicle the same way, all full of bullet holes. And it was just, maybe the video doesn't show it, but when we were there, it was like this ominous just pressure of fear and excitement and adrenaline, and it was crazy. Here's the inside. Okay, I'm going in.
Remember that?
We're going to pretend that is a doll head and not actually an actual head. I kind of regret not exploring that a little further. I think we're gonna get the hell out of here. Hear the wind's going crazy now. Tell, but way up on top. So way up, if you look right in the middle there, is another car upside down. All right. There's too much crazy redneck going on for me. I think it's time to leave. Gee. So we're exploring this a little more. And that's, Jay, when you said, oh, you know what? Or I think you pointed out that there was another vehicle down below.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said, oh, wait a minute. I think I have a pair of binoculars in my truck.
Right.
And so you went back and got those. Let me remove that and pull up the next video. And so in this next video is where I'm standing behind your truck and I'm filming the whole thing, and you're looking in the horizon through your binoculars, and you're looking at the vehicle down there. And then I point out, I think you can see in the video, I said, Jay, like, look to the left of that vehicle and up the hill a ways. Is that like a bunker? Is there like a structure there? So that's this. Okay, apparently Jason has binoculars. You see some of the vehicles. Oh yeah, I see it. Can't really see it on our camera. It was too far away. Like there's a structure on the road, like if you keep following that, like a cement wall. What can you see? What? So I'm going to pause, like just to the left of center and a little less than halfway down. You can kind of see there's a trail or a road with one tree, and right next to it, I think you can see on camera here, that structure. It's way, I wish you could see my cursor. It's way in the background, but it's there, way off in the distance. Oh, Jesus. Some kind of storage tank. Bunker? All right, well, it's getting dark, Jay. Lights of the buildings are starting to turn on down there, so. There's like a well, I promise you stuff in there. It's starting to get very windy too. Yep. Okay, so describe what you saw when you're looking through the binoculars.
So I remember I did see the structure you were talking about at first, and then I looked to the right of that, and I saw a tunnel going like into the side of the side of a hill, and it was fairly big, and then it just went straight back until it was just darkness. And I remember seeing that and going, why in the world would that be there?
Right. And what was the structure? Do you remember?
I can't quite remember. I thought I saw something like a water tower, maybe, and a small building.
Because what I could see with my naked eye looked like it was on the ground.
Right.
Like it looked like a cement wall or something on the ground.
I remember describing it, but I don't remember exactly like what it was now. But then as I panned to the right, I saw that tunnel going
right
into the ground.
And again, if you tie this all back to the intent, the reason we're even in the spot in the first place. So we drove up this mountain. We heard the mysterious invisible helicopter, drove back down. We discover all these blown up cars, which probably isn't anything other than locals having a good time, but I don't know. Anyway, so we see all these burnt out, blown up vehicles. Then we find a cement structure out in the hills, and below it, you said, like to one side,
right? It was like maybe just below like the horizon line where I was looking.
So it was a tunnel, like not like a cave, right? It was like a dug, like an artificial tunnel.
Yep.
Dug into the side of a hill.
Right.
that just disappeared into darkness.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It was in a weird spot. Like it wasn't, just off the road or anything. Like you would have to off-road it quite a bit just to get there.
Right.
So think of what it would have taken just to make that.
Yeah.
And then why is it there? For what?
Why is it there?
Oh.
That's going to be the theme of this. Why is this here? So what started out with a lot of energy and some fear and excitement is now like times 10, right? And I know this is going to sound like hyperbole or whatever, but there was always this feeling of, what if we don't get out of this mountain? Like,
yeah, it's hard to get that through watching the video, but
yes,
it was very much so there.
Tangibly scary. And like, if we get caught up here by the wrong people, we may never see our families again. Like, we could die up here on this mountain. Then Jay's truck would have been one of these flipped over, burnt up things. And maybe that's part of it too, is we're like, okay, is this what happened to people get caught up here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was frightening. It was exciting at the same time though.
Because I'm pretty sure we weren't supposed to be up there.
No. We ignored all the obvious signs, all the do not trespass and stop signs and go back. And so there we are. And even if that wasn't there, it was so obvious. It wasn't a road. It was just some sort of access trail going up to those towers. So yeah, there's that. So, but at this point too, we're starting to get a little jazzed up. I'm going to the next video.
And then we think it's over there.
So update. I think we finally found what we were meant to find, but it's starting to get dark.
So there's still stuff that we're going to find, but I'm trying to sum up like what had happened so far.
And I think that we're both a little bit freaked out. So we're going to get out of the area, but we're making a note of this location, and we will be coming back at some point. And just so whoever's watching this understands, this is real. This is going on right now. This is not fake. This is not a drill. Like, this is fucking bizarre. So we found the location of some sort of tank shaped, like around a cylindrical cement, what looks like some kind of tank, but there's about an 8x8 open tunnel that goes into the ground right below it or next to it? Below it, even better. And I mean, it is up here in the middle of nothing, and this road is treacherous.
Imagine what you would need to do to carve that out.
Oh, look, and here's a cross dug in the ground.
This is where it got crazy.
Yes. So already we're like, okay, this was the craziest thing I've seen ever. And now it gets even weirder. So the next video is when I pan my phone over, and I don't know how we didn't see it on the way up, because it's right off the road, and we were hyper focused. So I don't know how we missed it.
Saw it.
Yes. So yeah. So there's a giant pile of rocks, like an artificial, someone just piled all these rocks. It was maybe, I don't know what, a good 10 feet tall. And sticking out of the top of this pile of rocks is a giant wooden cross. And it's super windy. And the horizontal part of the cross is like going like this in the wind, and it's creaking in the wind.
Yeah.
So I'll just go ahead and play the next one.
Look at that. Look at the crazy dead people. Look at the...
What in the world?
This is for real, folks.
This is happening right now.
Hold on,
It's happening live as you were shooting. Yep.
So at this point too, it's hard to tell in the pictures because my phone is compensating for the light, but it's getting pretty dark. And we're still quite a ways up the mountain. And I was like, all right, what do you want to do? Should we explore this? Do we go back, come back another time? And you were just like, no, like, we're here. And you just kind of opened the door and just jumped out. So I was like, all right, I guess we're exploring. One of my bigger regrets in life is not following you up with the camera up to the top of the mound, but I did film you doing it. So the next one should be, we're checking this out. So I'm still filming around so you can see how far away we are from everything.
I think I jumped out of the truck and
Keep
just
a
went straight up
while
there.
Jason goes and checks this out.
I can't believe we drove through that.
I know.
That's a nice sound. Creaking in the wind.
You can't hear it over the wind in the microphone, but you could hear the cross going in the wind. It was totally from a horror movie. I thought, sincerely, I know it sounds silly now, but you have to, in the moment we're there, I thought we might not survive this. We may be killed. We may never get home. And it was real. It was very real.
Is there anything written on it?
Why don't you just go up and mess with the cross?
It's hard to tell in the video. It was so windy. I was like struggling to move forward.
It was very windy, yeah. So I'm pausing here. So just describe a little bit what it looked like when you're up there.
Well, when I went up there, it's very windy. The ground below me was kind of like giving a little bit
because it was all gravel.
Right. And then the cross is just, you can't really tell in the video, but the cross was just shaking, creaking, rocking up, Yeah. So it was wild. It felt like you were in a Blair Witch movie.
Yes.
It was almost like you couldn't write it better than it happened. And
it was just so cool the way everything happened. We're like, oh, here's this truck. Wow, we're gonna go on. Oh my God, like here's this cross. Just one thing after another kept happening to us.
I would say after maybe 10 or 15 seconds, it was like all of a sudden I could like feel somebody there with me. And it was like, okay, it's time to get the hell off this thing. And
I paused the video here on purpose because what Jay just described, right? He says, all of a sudden I feel like there was someone there with me. Yeah. And you can see in the video, all of a sudden your hands go up and you start running down the hill. Oh, it's great. You can see the wind.
It was right about here. And I was like, okay, I'm not here about this.
Come on.
Yep.
Let's be done with this.
Yeah, like the hair on my arms and stuff were just standing straight up.
Right. So tell everyone what you saw on the cross itself.
There was, and I don't remember. I wish I would have wrote all of it down, but at the time, it's so wild. It was like,
I wish I had jumped up there and just photographed it, but I didn't. I didn't think of it at the time.
There was a name carved in there. It was like something family. And then there was, on the left side of the cross, there was like a date. And on the right side of the cross, there was a date. And then the name was in the middle. And
so it said something, a name, something family with a date.
Right. So is the whole family buried up there?
It's a big pile.
We're in the middle of nowhere. Why is this here? Like, what happened there?
There's no roads, there's no houses, there's no real, bury me by the old pond, there's nothing there. There's just rocks.
Look at my body compared to the size of that mound. Somebody did all this. So that's probably an entire family. I don't know what happened, but
it begs the question, why are they there?
Yeah.
Why was all that put there? Why, so what happened? What if a whole family died there? Why would they have been there? Why would they have all died there? Why are they all buried there?
Who buried them?
And who just puts a cross there and then just leaves it there? Right. There's no other markers. There's no gravestone. It's just a wooden piece of wood with some nails. It's not even quality wood. There's no craftsmanship. It was just stuck in the dirt and walked away. So these are all things we have to try to figure out. All right. So you come down and we're like, all right, it's about time now. Let's skedaddle. So we work our way back down the mountain. I'm going to play the next video. I think it's more of me talking and just being excited and scared. Okay. We're getting back into the truck. What now? Oh, okay.
It had like the name of it said something family, and then there was like a date, but I couldn't quite make it out.
Wow. All right.
And it was like creaking, and
I could hear it creaking in the wind. Yes. All right. I'll check it in a minute. We're heading back down to the road. All right. All right. While I'm pulling up the next couple of videos, just talk a little bit about like how we felt at that point.
At that point, to me, it was surreal. I mean, it was I guess I don't even know how to describe it.
Oops.
Well, total adrenaline for sure, mixed with excitement, mixed with fear. And I'm thinking as I'm driving, there's no guarantee that like we're going to be able to link back up with a normal road. So how does this end?
Right.
So,
and I know I've said this a couple of times, but there was this whole adventure. There was something palpable in the air.
There was.
Like, before we even saw anything cool, it was like there was a weight on the whole thing. You could feel it in your chest and in your lungs, in your brain and your ears. There was a presence the entire time. So
there
here I'm
absolutely
talking
was.
talking about
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, technically we're still not done yet, but that was the craziest, scariest, most awesome thing I think I've ever done. I can't wait to tell you about this, Rebecca. It's crazy. Oh my God.
what the fuck just happened?
Okay, there's one more to show.
So yeah, we just had this crazy adventure that involved like helicopters that we couldn't see.
At this point, we're back on the road. You can hear so we finally found our way back down to that storage tank. So we're like, all right, we're back where we remember how to drive. So I explained there's these old abandoned warehouses out in the desert, and we're driving through trying to find our way back to the main state highway. And as we're driving through, all of a sudden there's another car. It was a little station wagon with maybe there was like a surfboard or something strapped to the top. The station wagon pulls up and waits for us to pass. And there's like a family of four inside, like a mom and dad and like two little kids. And it's nighttime out in the desert, out in this weird abandoned industrial park.
Oh yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere. And it was like, why are they there? Where did they come from? Where are they going? There's no houses. There's no beach nearby. This isn't like a sightseeing, hey kids, let's go for a drive. There were no houses that they would have come from. It wasn't like, oh, they just left their driveway.
Mm-hmm.
There's no place to go there. It was weird. I don't know why they were there. Back to the video.
Helicopters that we couldn't see. On the way back, there's this old, burnt out van that people were using for target practice. So we had to go off the road, and then we had to walk over the gravel to find this beat up, shot up van. And while we were there, Jason pointed out down in the valley that there's this other beat up, burnt out vehicle. So he's looking at that in his binoculars. And then I said, Jason, look up to the left, up that hill. Is that a structure? He turns the binoculars up there and finds a bunker with a tunnel underneath it. Just shortly after we hear the helicopters, it's all connected somehow. We were shown that location by who knows what. This is insane. The adrenaline is just coursing through my body. That was the craziest thing. The road was bonkers, first of all. Kudos to Jason.
lucky, and just the drive alone was an adventure in itself.
Wow.
I was really white knuckled. I mean,
Yes.
We will be back in the future for more updated information. I think we have to get some equipment, maybe a better vehicle.
Yeah.
You know?
I get my 4x4.
Yeah.
Just think if we can get a YouTube channel out of this.
And then we're going to get some better camera gear. We're going to get a drone or two up here. And we're going to check it out, folks.
Oh, we'll be back. This is just part 1, so.
It is. We got to make a commitment to document this.
Now, do we have that location like pinned or saved somewhere?
Let me find out.
It's going to be hard to find.
I'll be back in a minute, folks.
So that was the last video.
Mm.
So yeah. So after that, before we went back to Jay's place, we stopped at this little diner that we went to a few times. And we were looking, had my phone out. Oh, remember this, remember that. So we're watching the video, getting more and more jazzed up to do more stuff within the future. And we, at that point, determined. I have some relatives. My son has a cinematic quality camera drone. I have some other friends who are film students. I have other family and friends who are just super interested in this kind of stuff. And we decided that we need to put together a crew, come back and film the whole thing, like documentary quality and style, come back with multiple cameras, multiple people, and shoot the whole thing live. Let's do it. Like we had to do like a live stream, or we go back in, we explore more of the other vehicles we saw up there. We need to go further up the mountain and follow that road further up. We could send a crew up there with cameras somehow to see the cars, and then we have to take the drones and a camera crew and go explore that tunnel.
Yes, we got to find out what that is,
and the bunker, and find out what it is and film it all live. And I'm not sure how it's going to work out, because we're going to make a scene. We're going to have a lot of people going up there, so we have to figure out what time of day we're going to go up, what we're going to do and say if we get caught up there. So we're going to go back with the proper people, the proper equipment, and we're going to do a full-on multi-hour live episode of Wander
we
Beyond.
can live stream that.
Yes. So that's how this whole thing came about. We're sitting in this diner talking about how can we do this? How can we film this? And then it was like, well, why don't we, if we can do that, why don't we go on other Randonautica adventures and just live stream them as we do it? Okay, we have our intent, we have our location, let's go. And we take a crew and we just do it. And we're like, well, cool. So we have this podcast. What if we talked about other, government stuff and this and that? And that's how this all started, and snowball into what is going to be Wander Beyond. And that's where it all began. So any other thoughts about this adventure?
Well, I know that we had sent our intent as, to learn more kind of about our, whatever this thing is, realm, existence. And because it led to this, and that made me, look into some other topics much more. So in a way, it actually did exactly what we set out for it to do.
Sure. Because
now here we are doing this, and we're going to cover so many more things.
That's a good point too. When I was doing research on what we saw after we filmed all that, there's a lot of strange stuff with tunnels being discovered underneath the desert that connects to other cities and other structures. Not to show all it too prematurely, but a lot of it's connected to abductions, child abductions, and it's going to connect to a lot of other subjects that we'll talk about here on Wander Beyond. Absolutely. And so, did we discover one of those tunnels? Maybe, maybe not, but we don't know till we go there and find out.
And for the record, I am not suicidal.
Yes. So, that's true. That's true. Oh my gosh, that's a good point. This is going to air in front of people, and they're going to know we were there. Yeah, we got to go back and explore all that.
Yep.
So, yeah, like you're saying, trying to connect our intent. We wanted to see behind the mirror who's pulling the strings, and we get shown that the tunnel and the bunker and the family can all that be connected somehow? I don't know.
Right. And again, you know, like why is there just a family buried out in the middle of nowhere with a giant, it just, but anyway, going back to the tunnel stuff, I've seen maps where people have mapped like where all these tunnels run through, and a lot of them do run through this area. So is that maybe part of what we saw? I don't know. What's going to happen when we go 100 yards into that thing and we start hearing people shouting at us?
Right.
I don't know.
We're going to find out, though. We're going to bring it to you, the viewer, the fellow wanderers.
Live.
So, yeah. So that's Randonautica. Should I go in? We're about a little short of an hour. Should I save the other one for another episode?
Sure, you can, because I think we need to, you know, touch on all of that, how it relates to quantum physics.
Correct. Let's do that. We'll save that for the next episode, and I'll bring in a lot of the string theory, quantum physics, the two-slit experiment, and all the owl stuff, and all that other Randonautica stuff. And I'll do that, and I'll put my solo adventure on there with that, and we'll talk about that. And we could do that soon. We could do it in the next episode or two. I think that'd be good. So yeah, that's how Wander Beyond started. That's another sneak peek and just one of the many types of things we're going to talk about. I think that these first 3 episodes cover a lot of that. You want to talk a little bit about, I know you had some ideas what you want to do for episode 4.
Well, there's several things I'd like to cover sooner than later, so we can sort of kind of build a base of what we're trying to show here. But
some of your
I really want to get into, one of them is vortex math. That ties in a lot of like Nikola Tesla, sort of how, and it's provable that numbers really do make up whatever realm this is. It can be broken down. It's when you see it, it's almost too much to believe.
Yeah.
How perfect
in a lot of ways that will connect to this episode and the previous episodes. And what I was saying prior is that regardless of what type of science you're talking about, if you break it down to its smallest pieces, it always winds up at the same spot.
Yep.
That's a lot of what you're talking about here.
And then another thing that ties in with that is the Hermetic principles.
Okay.
So there's 7 Hermetic principles. It comes from something called the Kabbalion. It was like a text about those principles and what goes around them, and just explains the nature of our universe. Some kind of hard and fast rules. And it's super interesting. So from those things, you can start to get into other things, because a lot of, I think what we're trying to do is piece together, like, what is this place? What are we doing here? I think everybody asked that question. It's the age-old question.
What the meaning of life? Right.
Yep.
And it's such a common question that I think it's just become sort of the fabric of, what am I trying to say? It's almost an unimportant question. People say it, what's the meaning of life? But most people really don't know or care or even want to find out why. It's a question that's always out there, but there's never really any kind of answer. And we're hoping that if we can get people to start thinking outside the box, get outside their probability tunnels, that, maybe we can start to piece together some of this and come to some sort of greater understanding.
And I sort of believe that we live in some kind of a simulation or matrix, or what's the word, like realm. And I feel like I can sort of prove it with vortex math. Like you can actually see the nature of the whole universe. And I'll get into it. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, you've shown me some pretty crazy stuff. That'll be fun to talk about. And if you're talking about it's pretty popular right now, the simulation theory. And there's some math behind it. Sure, you can believe it or not. But if you're going to believe that, then I think it's just as easy if you can in your mind click and say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's I think it's literally the same thing as saying there's a creator. That
I do too.
by proving that we're just a simulation, someone just pulling strings and creating this.
Mhm.
How is that any different than saying God created the world?
Right.
You know
And
what I'm
I
saying?
sort of think it's the same. I think it almost proves that there is a creator, because
Right.
how could something be so perfect and so symmetrical if it wasn't created? I mean, it's
Sure.
when I show you, I mean, I know I've shown you, but when I show the viewers, it's
Mhm.
astonishing how
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff you haven't shown me. I'm looking forward to this. You're going to be teaching me a lot, especially the
right.
hermetic stuff. And this
Yeah.
is why, too, Wander Beyond, obviously, we're trying to have a discussion with our viewers. We want to teach them stuff. We want them to teach us stuff. But you're teaching me stuff, and there's other stuff I'll be teaching you. And
Mhm.
it's exciting to me because I don't, when it comes to a creator and even the simulation theory, I'm not of that thought. I'm not in that school, but it's great because I want to have the discussion. I want you to tell me what you know. I want viewers to chime in and tell us what they know or believe, and
Mhm.
I'll tell you what I believe. And this is a safe space. I'm sorry I just used that
Don't
word.
ever say that again.
It's it's a space where we can all talk about ideas that we normally wouldn't be allowed or talk about in polite company. So yeah, I'm going to be learning a lot of stuff. I think Wander Beyond is all about having discussions with things that you don't necessarily believe in, that might
Mhm.
make you uncomfortable, stuff that we're not allowed to talk about in polite company, right? When you go to friends, when you go to family's house, you're always like, don't talk about politics or religion.
Right.
Well, I think that's bullshit. I think
I
we
do
need
too.
to talk about it. I think if we were allowed to talk about it, if we went to the family's house and talked about it from birth, we would know how to have a conversation about
Mhm.
uncomfortable topics.
Yeah,
But we don't. Wander Beyond is that place.
that's right.
So we're going to
And
talk about a lot of fun things.
like you said, I think that a lot of this goes hand in hand. So just because I say that I think the universe is maybe some sort of a mathematical driven simulation doesn't mean that I think that there's not a creator involved. I almost think that shows that that there is a creator, and this is sort of
Yes.
it's like the fingerprint of God, right? I'm sure everybody's heard that term, but
Yes.
to me, it's sort of like proof that there is a creator, some whatever that thing is. I don't know, but
Right. When
um,
I get into a lot of the physics behind Randonautica, it connects a lot of those dots
hmm,
where intention creates reality is very much like the power of prayer.
right,
And it's
right.
funny because it's very counter to what I stand for and believe in. But when I start to break it down, and if I want to be honest with myself, and you start to break down the math, and I'm a big science guy, right? I've read so many books on quantum physics. Fred
Mhm.
Allen Wolf is the coolest writer, and when you start to break stuff down, you start to go, well,
Yeah.
maybe.
It gets to a
So
point where it's like this cannot be random at a certain point. It's
right,
just not
right.
possible.
And
How
we're
can
going to have
all of
so
it?
many stories. Next time we're on to, we have to talk about the Frito, the
Oh my
Frito
god! I still have
story.
the bag of Fritos on my fridge.
We'll,
We'll get into that,
yeah, we'll get into that. We'll bring that up on the next Randonautica
and it doesn't
thing.
have to necessarily be the very next episode, but the
Yeah,
next one we get into this, we have to bring that up.
yeah.
And another thing I want to say too on the show, like I know last episode we had our like globe flat Earth this episode. We can do more on that and keep adding to those. We can come back
Absolutely.
because we're gonna get guests. We're gonna get some really angry viewers that are gonna want to
Let's
chime in.
bring them on. Yeah, yeah. I
And
have personal friends who would love to chime in on that subject. We've had
Mhm.
discussions about it. I regret turning off the cameras when we did, Jay, because you and I actually talked for almost an hour after that. We should have just kept the
we
camera
almost could have
rolling.
made a whole nother episode.
So we'll get into all that, and we'll go at each other some more, and it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and we're gonna have more Randonautica. We'll have more Flat Earth, and there's no reason we always can't circle around and just do random episodes on whatever we want at any given time. And
Right.
again, people, we want you to comment. Go ahead and smash that like button and everything that we want you to do. Comment on everything. Let us know if you have something you want us to talk about. Let us know if you have criticisms of this episode and the crazy, stupid shit that we're talking about. And Comment,
do yourself
comment,
a favor though, and do not miss that Vortex Math episode. It will change your life.
Let's set that up, and we'll do that next time.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, fellow wanderers, for tuning into this episode. And until next time, keep wandering.